doing already. It is about getting it done, because you never know. Yes, we survived one episode. We have gone to RMCO, but we are starting to hear cases are coming back, and that is only one portion that could impact. What about the current tension between US and China? Many other things. The weather that is now causing havoc, is raining right outside my window now as we speak. All these are potential points that may trigger a business continuity management. So without further ado, let me just very quickly, you know both of us, Peter and myself, we have been in industry, but I want to get Peter to introduce himself more in terms of, Peter, what specific experience have you got in this area? Perhaps for everyone to know very quickly before we go into our subject matter.
Okay, thank you very much, Zohrab. In essence of time, I'm just going to go into straight, really related to business continuity. I was with a Great Eastern Insurance Company. Great Eastern is actually the largest insurance company in Southeast Asia. What I was involved in is because business continuity is a very huge area. And I was involved in setting up part of the departmental level, and also established the business continuity for the HR team in Vietnam. We regularly test the system and go down to the path of actually activating the business continuity. In other words, like disaster recovery, we actually activate the disaster recovery, and then we do have a call tree. We actually went to the alternative sites, basically take it as your original working space are not able to function. So we need to go to another offsites to activate the whole system, the HR system, and things like that. So but we don't do it all by just HR short syndicate. We actually, the entire company has a representative to go there and take it as a case where our head office cannot function anymore, completely shut down because of disaster. So we go to another site, which I'll literally tell you where it is. We actually have 3 different sites. One is in Basis Fair in Shah Alam. Another site is in Putrajaya. Cyberjaya. So we actually have to go to, the team have to split and then go different locations on when the moment is being triggered. Yeah. So that practical experience give me really good insights on why it is so important to establish a business continuity plan, and that experience has allowed me to see how I run HR department, I run the business and support the business differently. Yeah, I hope that do some justice for you, Zohrab.
Nice. Thank you. Wow, that's really an experience, right? And such wonderful to hear that you got involved in the regional context and how you also incorporate into what you do. That's business continuity is not a real day-to-day, but into your more HR space that you were in before.
Yeah, it's just like, one of the things when we started doing this business continuity and planning for Vietnam, and the HR, some of the junior HR folks look at us like, why is it needed? Disaster, everybody impacted, then we stay at home. But I said, no, business has to continue. Assuming that is the day that we need to ensure that you get a pay, we will make sure that you get a pay.
Yes.
Oh, so when you talk about impacting the pay of them, then the connectivity start happens.
Dollars and cents, right? Yeah. Nice. Thank you. All right, and thanks for that. And for those of you who are with us for the first time, well, let me share with you what I have been doing before now today as an advisor that's going in the business continuity space. I myself, just like Peter, we were both in the insurance industry, financial industry, one of the most highly regulated industry not only in Malaysia but across the world. All the different compliance, and one of it is really about business continuity. We cannot afford to allow somebody to, not only the people inside, but you as our customer, as the customer of the insurance, right, policy holder, be left, into a situation that, hey, I bought from you, and just because one pandemic happened or one small fire, you cannot operate anymore, that's it. No. So that's where I have gotten my experience. In one of the largest regional companies that were existing, that operates in Malaysia, I was with them, whereby I led, I designed, I implemented, I reviewed, I tested, as well as continually improved the business continuity plan for Malaysia. We have our presence of branch network in Malaysia, and I managed to also extend the business continuity plans to the branches. And I think at that point, we were one of the early pioneers who managed to extend the kind of development to that scope, whereby our regional team is also looking at us. How do you do that? And that's where we gain extra experience to share with our regional team. And besides just the network in terms of the pioneer to have a branch network plan, we were also one of the pioneers to come out with our pandemic plan. That time, early days, after SARS, after H1N1 coming out, everybody got a bit jittery. We were early ones who also had earthquake or tremor plans. Now you'll be wondering, what are y'all doing? Crazy, Malaysia, no earthquake. Why do you always need to look at that plan? Well, some of you may not remember, but right after Aceh, the whole tsunami that caused havoc, that was the one episode. We didn't really face the impact, but there was a subsequent one that rocked closer to Malaysia. The lives lost were minimal, but the tremor caused, myself was on level 29 of one particular building. We shook for about 5 minutes. That triggered the need for how do we even respond to a tremor? Because we saw our colleagues, our peers and friends suddenly starting to run to the lift and wanting to go down the lift. You'll say, oh no, that will be the last thing that you want to be in the lift, going down a lift shaft, and if something were to happen. So that also prompted us to come up with a plan against that. All right, so that has been my experience. And how I started was not just take it on and go with it. The good thing is that we had help. We engaged a Big Four, one of the Big Four consultants who come in. They started it all. After that, it was all very much maintained by our side. We didn't let them go because we still need them as independent consultants to come and give feedback during our simulation exercise, because that carries more weight, because all the reports needs to go to Bank Negara eventually at the end of the day, after going through the internal stakeholder. So that's where we are. So we developed IT plans, we developed business continuity plan, and a few other highlights that we made then. One of the early pioneers was we adopted SMS tech. Okay, at that time it's SMS technology, no social media. We adopted SMS blast gateway. We managed to sign where it's automated. We trigger everybody's contract number. The call tree goes out. They reply yes or no. We collect those kind of things. It was hosted by another third party, one of our telcos. We also got to do telecom line rerouting to our alternate site. We had our branch. We also had, like what Peter was mentioning, we also had Cyberjaya for our IT, right? And then also another hot site, we call it, somewhere else in PJ. So those are the things that I have got an experience. And the part that I would say the test was really in a fire. We actually had a fire in one of the branches. Thankfully for the plan, we managed to recover the downtime within 1 month, and we did not lose any business. We did not lose our customer despite the interruption that we had. And the other part that we managed to use the plan was not to the extent, however, it was a more day-to-day. Things like suddenly lift breakdown. We have employees trapped inside the lift. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? And most recent after that was the unfortunate MH370. We need to trigger a call tree, because it was a weekend. We do not know who's on board, who could possibly have gone on a holiday. We just need to do that accountability. So we also use business continuity to manage the way that we see the best for the well-being of our people at that time. Yeah. So that's a bit about myself, a bit about my Peter. Be assured, both of us come with experience to take you through, and we will take on questions as well, as what Peter mentioned. So let us get going. All right, let's get going in this Friday afternoon with the storms and all. So maybe Peter, let's start by asking you. But I would just want to show what we're going to cover today. Right, we are going to talk about what are the 7 best practices. We're going to put that back in perspective first. After that is what can you do? What kind of help can you get? And what kind of support? So all these are the questions that will be answered today in terms of what you can get out of this and what if you engage both of us to be part of your journey for a real recovery. Yeah. So over to you, Peter. So let's start. Let's get going. Right. The best practices. What are these 7 areas that we talk about? So over to you. Sorry, Peter, you're muted. You're muted. Yeah. It happens on a Friday. It happens.
The best practices really focusing on how a business continuity management can be effectively measured, managed, and also put it together. So I'm going to go into one by one. Zohrab. Okay, the first aspects of the best practices is really going down to the fundamental, we call it the governance level. Now, the governance level is really, as an organization, you need to decide who take the call, who take the ultimate decisions, and then from there you establish the structure, and then how the escalations is going to happen. If, let's say, for instance, a disaster happened, how this information are escalated to who and to what are the things that they need to do. We need to also establish a plan and test the plan. It's very, very critical to have a proper plan, and you know a plan is just a plan, but you need to test the plan whether it works or not, like what I mentioned earlier. For instance, I give you an example. We have a plan. So when great earthquake took place on the 12th of March in Japan many years ago, we actually literally triggered the disaster recovery SOS for all employees to be notified and to take accountability, because we know Malaysian, especially the company that I work for, we have a lot of colleagues love to visit Japan as part of their holiday destinations. And literally it happens, and we have people in Japan, in Tokyo, and we have to take each one of them accountable for where the location is and things like that. So of course it didn't require us, because we were able to get the response from them. We did not have to activate the next level, which is actually link up with Japan embassy and things like that. So we were able to account it for. Now the next one is, of course, once you have a plan, you have tested the plan, you need to know that circumstances do change. Then you need to review whether it still works or not. Like, for instance, prior to this, many organizations who have done the part on pandemic, just like what my previous organization as well, we do the pandemic also coverage, but we will never be able to imagine the pandemic that we are having at this point in time. And of course, all the insurance company or whatever organizations that you work for, if you have a pandemic plan, now I think you need to review and really refocus and relook at whether whatever you have planned for, it is really makes sense or not. So that's the update part. Now, in any BCM or BCP unit, there is a component called the communications. So communication could be how you actually address to the public, how you address to the stakeholders. Stakeholders could be an employee and the shareholders, as well as customers as well. And communication also talks about escalation process within the organizations. And once that is, the best practices is done, then the last part is really to normalize it, become part and parcel of day-to-day running of business. If this happens, it's like a two kids now. Now you have a couple of things in your pocket. So when this happens, you know what to do. When that happens, you know what to do. So that essentially gel the whole 7 best practices business continuity management and business continuity planning as well.
Oh, interesting, interesting. Yeah, wow. So there are 7. So for those who joined in and those who want to embark, this is then your recommendation that we need to look into this. So 7, is that what I get from
absolutely. These are some of the best practices that we can, certainly, but each of the box, it may just sounds like one word. It sounds like, oh, this is very simple structure. So I just draw an org chart. How is the report? Actually, it go beyond that. There are a lot other things that is embedded, required a lot of work to go through that. Like for instance, escalations. Escalation is very, very complex part of it. Then when you do the testing, a lot of people will say, oh, I have the plan, then test will be very easy. Review will be easy. You'll be surprised that those are actually very, very practical part of the work that needs to be done. And I think the most underestimate or under focus is actually the communication part. You said disaster happened, it happened. It is so important that disaster happen or any, like for instance, currently pandemic happened. When MCO took place, a lot of organizations caught into shock. They do not know how to respond. So you need to be able to actually work through communication. Your premises is shut down. Customer cannot be at this disadvantage. You need to know how the communication works. I give you an example. When MCO took place, the Naga National, literally everybody was locked at home.
Yeah.
The Naga National is actually essential service, but yet they cannot, because reading the meters of your actual consumption of electricity is not part defined in the what is they call essential. So they actually do the auto billing based on your past consumptions patterns. So if you have received the recent month, the July month or June, electricity bill, you could have a lot of information there, they tell you what to do. So all these are part of communications.
Well, I definitely can relate to that aspect about communication. Of course, the recent TNB, which caused a stir in the entire nation. So now there's recovery also. In a sense, it's recovery, right? They have to come up with explanation how it was done. Wow. So we cannot run away. And I truly believe in any situation, especially when it's a disaster like that, even though it's not physical disaster, it's just all of us cannot do or go about the normal way of life. We need to be able to keep all the stakeholders, external as well as internal, updated in terms of what's really happening. Otherwise, the second round of panic will happen, and we do not want that to also be triggered, because then it's like reputation at risk. Somebody start cooking up different story about, hey, you haven't heard from them, and guess what? In the business world, it's not so friendly. Everybody will take advantage of any small or no news. They will say, look, there's nothing coming from them. No, why you want to go with them? Come with us. We are alive. We are able to provide you with all this necessary. So that's where it's so important to have this, and communication is one of that. And when you say about escalation, I also can relate about escalation. Business continuity doesn't mean that every single thing you're going to activate the full plan. You need to get your CEO. You need to get the whole company together. It needs to be able to address from the minute incidents to a more complex situation. And that's how escalation works. And finally, if I hear you right also from the understanding, a lot of companies maybe do all the first six blocks, but they forgot about normalization. Everything new, recovery. Then, okay lah, now you're supposed to go back to normal. What are you supposed to do? Everybody start forget what you need to put in place. So normalization is also equally important, right? Just like we go on holiday, we are able to plan out, we pack everything, we go on a holiday, come back, then leave your luggage there. Forgotten when to unpack, how to even get started to your normal day today. So that's something I can relate to as example.
Yeah, true, very true.
Nice. Okay. So is that all? Can we move on, Peter?
Yes, yes.
All right. So let me then move on. Let me move on. So for those of you joining there, these are the 7 practices. We welcome question after that for you to get more insights if you need. Let me then move on in terms of now that you know, it is so important. As I said, we will never know when you will need it, but better be prepared than don't have at all. Peter and I came from insurance industry. That's why we still need insurance. Whatever best we do in preparation, something can still happen, and at the least expected moment. So business continuity is also likened to insurance for you. It's likened to insurance. So where can I begin? If I'm now a business owner, you and I are in an organization supposed to look after the risk. Where can I begin? So let me share with you. We have developed this a simple assessment tree, decision tree for you to assess yourself. And this will be made available once this seminar is over for all of you to attend. But let me just share with you. It looks like this. It looks like, but do not worry. I'm going to take you through the 3 parts. Essentially, there's 3 parts. When you have it, you'll be able to gauge whether you need or you do not need a business continuity plan at all, or BCP. Let's start by the first chunk. The first chunk is really on this flow one. And let me just share with you very quickly. This is the chunk whereby essentially what it means. What it means to you is that, okay, when you take a look, the first question is whether do you have or do you not have a business continuity, a BCP in place. If you don't have, the next question you should be asking is it critical? Is it critical for me as in the organization? If it's not critical, then okay, no further action. Nothing else. Finish. Which is a possible scenario for some. No further action required. But then let's look into the second scenario. Second scenario is where it's the same. You do not have a BCP, but the junction point now is going back to this piece that BCP is going to be critical for you. So let's see how is that going to then how is that going to work out? So a few questions. Once you decide that BCP is critical for you, the answer is yes. You need to look into these few questions. If you don't have, and you need to have a BCP in place, right? So that's the decision tree again, yes or no. If yes, of course, then you ask the next step. Do I have my own capability? Do we have internal capability to prepare? If the answer is yes, okay. But you still need to ask, if I have the capability to prepare, do I have the capability to test and also review the plan? Just like what Peter shared. If that answer is a yes, okay, no? Whether you need, if you can manage yourself, okay, good on you. You can do it on your own. But what if you, after going through this tree, that you need it in place, that you need to prepare, and you need someone to be able to help you test, then you need help. So worry not. Help is not too far away. All you need to do is contact ATCEN. We'll give you the contact details later. We are able to talk about it. We are able to see how we can help you. The other way is, of course, if you say that I don't have a BCP in place, right? But sometimes you say, I have a capable team. I'd be able to do that. Then you use this decision tree to determine and assess whether you need further assistance or not. Because sometimes you still need to test. You need to validate. If you already have everything, you are capable to do everything. You already have a BCP that works, then you're well prepared. Go for it. Yeah? So use this tree as a way to self-assess whether you need further help or you're okay. Right? So that's something that you use this call tree. And the third one is really around this area. So it's all of the final one, which is the bottom, which is essentially if you have everything in place, this whole bottom line, then okay, then you're all smooth. The only part is if you suddenly realize that you may not be able to validate your plans, even after you're able to test, you may possibly still reach out for assistance. That's how we have created this checklist for you to self-assess as your first point. Simple. Keeping it very simple for all of you. But more importantly, it's not only that. It's around what help can you get if you decided to reach out for some assistance. You reach out to us. So maybe I will go to call upon Peter to share what what is it that is on offer in terms of the kind of assistance? Peter?
Just looking at the tree itself, I could imagine a lot of organizations would probably require a lot of insights and help, because even as an insurance company, we are the regional largest insurance company in this part of the world. In fact, we also bring in consultants to actually help us, because things that we see here may not be what they see, and that they probably have different sort of exposure experience in different markets. So we bring in the best and consolidate it so that we are actually having a comprehensive plan. So yeah, so for now, we would like to focus on what in Malaysia, what help can I get in our offerings. And there are components of 6 different components of the assistance. The first one is we can provide awareness workshop. And the awareness workshop could be a half a day, could be up to even 2 hours for the senior management to really understand what business continuity management is all about, to even to the team who is operating, working on business continuity. It could be a half a day workshop kind of thing. Typically, we also can do half a day to even 1 full day kind of workshop for awareness in the organization. Let's say you have 10 people who are working on this project, but then the rest of the 50 people need to be trained, need to be, create that sort of awareness, and we can run that kind of workshop. The second one is really basic self-help tools. There will be some templates available, different set of templates. Of course, if you go with a plus, which means, typically you have full sets of different templates that is available as well. And to develop this template is really require a lot of experience to have that template working in order. Now, at the same time, we also have this what we call online advisory. Typically, we offer as much as even up to three hours of advisory a month, and depending the kind of packages that you're looking at, you can stretch all the way up to a year. Yeah. So this is once you have that sort of advisory, because sometimes you still need a little bit more what we call serious intervention. So serious intervention could be, now you don't know where to start. We could come in and help you to set up the business continuity management, the governance, the structure, analyze the business impacts that, if certain risks are involved, we will also help you to develop the plan and also disaster recovery plan as well, to ensure that in the events of any disaster happen, or in the events of any pandemic, or could be a flood, could be a fire, could be a earthquake, could be a tsunami as an example. What would be the core function need to be revived first, so that bosses can sign off, and then it's a lot of scenario based, and this typically one setting like this, it usually typically take up to about 3 days of work at least. Then we talk about, we can actually also help you if you already have the BCP in place already. We can come in and help you to test and give you feedback whether what are the improvements that you can do. So work through the simulated workshop, and post workshop feedback and improvements are part and parcel of development. And last but not least, once this is done, we also can help you to review the plans, consolidate it at the company level, at different function level, because some organizations are big enough. Let's say you have 3 different manufacturing sites. We could actually also help you to consolidate who would be at different sites, will report to one ultimate CEO of the company, and things like that, or senior management of the company. Yeah.
All right, nice. Okay, so these are the components that they can expect. And what about the packages? I understand there are packages. So just tell me a bit more very quickly. What are the packages that's available?
Okay, the packages, typically, we would like to work on 3 packages. We just name it ABC for simplicity. A typically go for a little bit more basic, where you actually have a review the plan, help tools for the workshop, and then create awareness. Package B, you have the similar things, you have awareness, self-help, online advisory, and actually involved in development of the VCM for you, and of course review the plans. And more advanced, which means a lot more involved, which means all including testing and feedback as well. So these are actually essentially what packages that we have installed for you. Yeah.
I believe this is the cost, right? I believe this is the package cost that we are sharing.
Yes. And this is essentially, if you look at it, package A, basically you require a minimum of 4 days. But minimum of 4 days is basically the time that we involve in doing it for you. On top of this, there are development costs that has taken prior to this. That is, of course, it's not part and parcel of this. So basically, 4 main days is really like, workshop, go to your sites, set up the things for you, review the things for you, document, so all this. So intermediate is, of course, the total number of main days is as more than double of what package A, and then package C is again, almost double of what package B. So that's essentially the packages, and this is based on main days of one consultant. Now, at regular basis, when you do this, you may require, okay, I want to start with small, maybe package A, and then I will say, okay, but based on what you offer, I need extra main days, or additional main days will be charged at 2,500 per day per consultant. Yeah. And then this is offered only for SMEs. With Malaysian permanent workforce of up to 75 for the services and 200 for manufacturing and mining, or combined revenue of up to 50 million. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So there are the packages, and I believe these prices, if you compare to the experience that both of us have in engaging the Big Four, this is really very affordable, and it's
right? Before they'll probably charge you more than package B for 1 day of work or less.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. All right. So there you go. For those of you, these are the packages that's being offered, and let me go through in terms of interest of time as well. There is also a special offer for those of you from today until next week, before we have another public holiday. If your management say let's go with it, guess what? We are offering you discount, a 10% discount on the packages, but you have to commit by the 30th of July, but before the next Friday's public holiday long weekend. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So that's something that we have. So do contact ATCEN if you have. So let me then move on. Right. And some of you may, but I already have. I do not need your services, or maybe I need you in parts only. Can it be done? Let me share with you. Of course. In business continuity, is a life cycle. You cannot just say, I have got a plan, that's it already, everything is good. No, it is a live document. You need to review, you need to test, you need to enhance. So regardless of which stage you are in, we are able to provide you assistance. You can come in we can come in at different place. We can come in for 1 day to review at the cost of 2,500. Or it is really much, you say, no need, I just need your advisory services. I need someone to be able to give a call to a few hours per month kind of basis. We also have that package available, and that's in front of your screen. And finally, I just need somebody to come in and do my test for me, so that it's very independent. When the report goes to the board of directors and it goes to the authorities, it has a bigger voice in that sense that we are ready. We also offer that. That is about 3.5 days of manpower, which includes all the scoping, pre-work, the development work to ensure that it's all be done. And of course, if additional man consultant is required or hours, then there will be some charges. So that's what we have. That's what we have for you. Right? I mean, as Peter said, the cost is already very cheap. You will be getting the best deal based on the experience that we have as well. So we bring real life experience in terms of what we have. Yeah. So what can you expect? aspect before we get into the Q&A. I'm going to skip this part because this is also a 10-step questionnaire that you will be receiving right after this to help you go through what you need to make sure a plan in place. But importantly, both of us, Peter and myself, will offer this in terms of your returns, the amount of money you spend. You will get the part of assessment. You will get all the assessment exercise, the business impact analysis that is required, the awareness workshop. It's all part of that whole package that you see. You also get your plans and structure being developed from the governance to the different plans, operation recovery, IT, disaster recovery, pandemic. We are able to provide that as well. And finally, it's also report, because you need to be able to assess and have a report ready. You need to be able to have a report after your simulation exercise or even a real life exercise. Some people do carry to the extent, and templates. This is what you will get out from the engagement with us. You have our promise. And as what Peter said, as much as we can do ourselves, it will always still be beneficial to have the external pair of eyes to come in to make yourself more independent in terms of your report. In whatever that is given to your board, there is added value to that. Yeah, so that's where we come in. So let's then get going. Oh, maybe Peter, you want to just quickly share what, actually we have something else, right? Before the, even the package.
Yes. Actually, as part of the government initiative under the Ministry of Human Resources, they call it Panjana HRDF initiative, which is actually run under the HRDF office. Panjana HRDF initiative essentially is to help you to step up your internal capability. So we have submitted a full 4 days certified business continuity management practitioner at work program that to HRDF, and in fact this program is actually certified by Western Kentucky University in the United States, that give you a 4 days workshop with assessment that is fully claimable. Actually, is fully funded by Panjana HRDF initiative grant. So, of course, this is subject to, if you are interested, you can contact the ATCEN, and if you fall into the category of SMEs, you are able to actually literally attend this and get it certified for free. For free means whether you are HRDF contributing company or not, you are still eligible. Any SMEs are eligible. You can take this opportunity, and we will actually help you to train you to become build internal capability to certify BCM practitioner at work. And what happened is that again, I must have put a caveat here. The approval is in the process, so pending HRDF approval whether they will approve this program. If they approve this program, then we are able to run, and if they approve, they will also give us probably, I don't know, maybe there's a limited seats available, so it'll be good for you to quickly grab this opportunity to get yourself certified. All you need is to contact ATCEN, and they will advise you on the details that you need to provide to them. I believe there will be commitment letters that our SME needs to provide to ATCEN, so that as ATCEN, as being a training provider, are able to submit on the entire things information with the participants to the HRDF when they actually in the process of approval as well.
Great. So wow. So there you go. So for those who are here, guess what? There's also an opportunity to be certified, right? So just look out and contact ATCEN. Seize upon this opportunity to be certified under Western Kentucky University's certificate. All right. Okay. So we have come right to the time that we're going to start taking questions. So do we have questions already? Do we have questions in the chat for us? If none, then we'll keep it open. Those of you who wants to ask live, just raise your hand and Team ATCEN, Ricky will unmute you or get you to be unmuted to start asking questions. So fire away, fire away. Do we have areas to be clarified? Questions? Question for me, question for Peter. It can be around business continuity. If you have not attended the first one, if you want to know what is business continuity, perhaps you want, maybe Peter, maybe just for interest or everybody just kickstart. Just we go one step back. All right?
Okay.
What is business continuity management essentially?
Business continuity management essentially is you put a plan or thinking about how to sustain an organization in the events of untoward things happen. I give you an example on the personal life level. Every time when I travel, taking my family for a break, be it especially when you actually take flights. In fact, if you are in Malaysia taking car for a trip, you need to insure even more than taking flight. In fact, because the truth is statistics has proven that flight is safer than driving car in Malaysia. So whenever I do trips, I make sure that I buy travel insurance end to end to cover in the events that there is a flight delay exceeding certain hours, you are actually compensated. So you do have the airline actually covered all this, because some of the airlines are covered very bare minimum. Then because of inconvenience created by airlines, you actually literally have to fork out your money to pay for the differences. So if you buy the travel insurance, it usually will suffice to cover almost everything. Yeah. So business continuity is similar like that. You don't suddenly get a knee-jerk reaction. You actually sort of like protect it. Yeah. So I give you another example. When Sichuan earthquake took place in 2008, I was supporting the China of the insurance company that I was working in, and literally at that point in time, one of our board of directors and my dear colleagues was actually in Chongqing itself, and they were at the 45th story building, 45th floor of the building. The whole building shook. And one of our colleagues from Singapore actually literally, he said, "Oh, I learned this, I'm going to hide under the table, just like what Japan has." But they were advised not to, because it is 45-story height. If it is 1-story, 2-story building, yes, you should hide under the table. But if it is 45-story, you don't. You jolly well get down the lift and run, escape from the building. So it took them in no time to get up from the building. So yeah, the business continuity. So how would that happen? First thing is business continuity is always talking about safety of people. The next thing is talking about safety of assets. And the third thing is how are we going to get back and resume the business after the disaster happened. So these are the fundamentals of business continuity.
Okay, so yeah, so and I hear you, it applies for our personal lives. It also applies for our corporate life, right? And it's not only about operations. I think I mentioned earlier, it's not only about the operations, but it's also about your financial risk. Yeah. You need to have a plan against your financial cash flow, for example. Do you have enough cash flow? That's also another kind of business continuity. Your IT, right, in the whole infrastructure. Nowadays, one cyber crime, ransomware, how many millions have been, in a way, paid out to these ransomware attackers over the last few months, especially. By statistics, there's about 70% of SMEs got ransomware last year. Of course, not everyone was reported, but that was the amount of companies. And you know how much it costs. It costs, if you just get somebody in to help you, one of the IT vendors, it's going to cost you close to 100,000 ringgit just for that one exercise. Not even to pay them yet. It's just to review and assess where is your big point. That is what I've heard in terms of the vulnerable. Okay, this is tongue twister. how risky it is, right? Yeah, in terms
it's
of
very vulnerable is because in the business, typically there is like 6 different areas that you, at least these are the 6 minimum area that you need to look at, because if you want to focus on business continuity. Really, one is finance, the other one is IT, the other one is operations, the other one is disaster recovery itself, pandemic, and the last one is the people. So the people business continuity is actually talking about succession planning. If someone out of blue moon, God decided to call the person back, we no longer have that talent who is able to take over. Sometimes it's because when we talk about succession planning, we also talk about what happened if one of the colleagues, who traveled and got stranded somewhere else and couldn't return in a couple of months. Just like, for instance, during the MCO, one of the HR directors actually stuck in one of the South Asia country, Pakistan, Afghanistan, Kyrgyzstan, that locations. And he couldn't come back for so many months because he is not Malaysian, but the family is in Malaysia. So how are you going to trigger that? Organizations can operate, but family institutions are troubled. Yeah. So just to give you an idea why such continuity, business continuity is so important. Yeah.
Right, nice. And relating to that, I think most of us are aware the situation of MH370. I'm just using the example. I don't know about you, but I do have someone there who I know who unfortunately is not found now. We don't know where, and I know of family, friends of friends who are also on that plane. But there was one learning lesson as well. Okay, and for those of you who followed news, one organization had their brains of their company going to China for a trip. All of them carried their wealth of experience, all wiped out. Right?
Yeah.
And that is also one part of the contingency. If you had, I'll call it a risk management first in place, and having a business continuity plan, and it's what you said about talent management and succession planning, all this would have been factored in from the beginning. Whether do you even allow a whole contingent going on one same flight? That would have been the first.
So you bring out a very pertinent points here. I'm sure you could recall this, in insurance company, HOD and the deputies are never allowed to fly on the same flight.
Exactly.
And then the senior management team, I remember I organized, consistently 7-8 years of maybe 9 years of retreats for the senior management team in different locations in Malaysia, and also flying down to Singapore for various interventions that we need to meet. We always need to go through this, what we call the risk management tree. If CEO is flying on that particular flight, few of the very key individuals cannot fly with him. So there will only be maybe 2 or 3 others can fly with him. So we always split into 4 or 5 different flights, so that in any cases, any untoward thing happen, the risks are mitigated. It's not completely not able, by splitting so many flights doesn't mean that you can mitigate all the risks, but you are able to mitigate to the minimum level, and it requires you to rigorously work in, for instance, give you an example. When HR team need to fly out from Malaysia for various reasons, that piece of paper need to be signed off by chief risk officer to agree upon who fly with who on what flight. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's how stringent it is, because that's how we manage the risk.
Yeah, no, I definitely can relate to that, because I can never travel with my boss. So we're always on a separate flight, and my team also depends on who, and make sure that there are still potential survivors that can run the operation. So that's something that we look into. And beyond the 6, I think there's one more area that organizations sometimes miss. Today is also about reputational risk. And how do we even protect that? It's also going to be part and parcel of this entire big governance and how business continuity is going to fit in. Right. So
Actually, there was one case, there is one business case that is now, after that happens, that become business continuity and especially succession planning and all this retreat and incentive treat become more and more discussed in the risk management framework. Is one of the multinational companies, they took a whole group of top sales individuals of the region for a cruise, and the cruise for a cruise is a small cruise small, in I think it's in Hong Kong, if I'm not wrong, is or in Vietnam. They did the cruise and then the whole the boat capsized and all of them died. I think 17, 18 of them.
wow.
And that become Harvard Business School case studies.
Yeah.
So it's not a joke. You do that kind of thing, you need to really work on what we are saying is you need to run the business with a lot of continuity in mind, so that it can be mitigated.
Yeah, right. And I always believe, I know in the time that we have, I always believe, never be afraid of being over cautious. But we do not go to that extent of crippling or disabling what we want to do. We plan as much as we can to mitigate. We still need to get going in life. All these plans is really to minimize and cushion any potential derailers that may come along the way. But we should not be too paranoid that we do not want to do it. Just like now, right? Now we are allowed to go back out there. You don't be over paranoid. No, I'm going to stay at home only. Guess what? Staying at home also has got its risk, right? Because the virus also can be brought back in. Doesn't mean you don't go out, you're not going to be exposed. But let's also continue. We just need to be able to take cautions, put the necessary steps so that we are able to go out. Start from home. For those of you on this 1 hour webinar with us, start from home. Do you even have an emergency drill for your own family members? Where are you going to assemble if a fire happens? Start from there. Start thinking. Start thinking. That is one of the things. We do that in office. How come not at home? How come not at home that we do a fire drill? Do you have an assembly point that every family member know exactly where to go if something like this were to happen at night or in the daytime? So something to think about. So in the time that we have left before we go, perhaps just one question to you, Peter, before we bring back the last slide is.
Yeah.
For some on this call, they say, business continuity sounds like very risk related. Must it be a risk officer that takes charge of this whole place, this whole scope of work?
If you already have a risk management department, then it's quite naturally should be part under them, because they are more well-versed with risk management. But if you don't have that department, it could park in any other department under the finance, under the operations, under the HR, if the HR has the bandwidth. It could park under the product risk. It could be parked under security and safety and environment and health kind of departments. So there is no necessary that you need to start the new department by itself. It could be to get this started off, you need to get someone who can commit and is empowered to do that. So the more important, that's why the governance level and the structure is very important to be established at the very early stage of the establishment of business continuity management and business continuity plan.
Right. So nice. So if I hear you rightly, it is not about just being the right person in terms of being a risk manager. All it takes is now someone who is committed, who is empowered, and who is going to be very comfortable. Someone who is not going to panic. If something happens, he's not going to be the first person who's going to run away from the building or run away from anything. It's like the captain of the ship, I'm the last one standing. That is the kind of character that will help you start off this journey.
Absolutely.
Okay? Nice, thank you. So thank you, Peter, for sharing your experience and taking on my questions. We don't have questions from the guy. I guess some of these are also their questions that we are asking.
I'm sure that there are lots of other questions that triggered. If they do have any particular questions that is pertaining to DCM, BCP, or disaster recovery, you can always reach out to Chloe of the contact appear on the screen here, and she can be in touch with us. We provide the input for you. Yeah.
Great. Yeah. So to all, thank you all again for your 1 hour spent this Friday late afternoon.